The last time, he took a bride. But this time, in order to become the parents of a human baby, they'll need just the right woman. Jennifer Tilly. This fall, Chucky's back, and he's delivering us some evil. Come to Papa.
What the hell is going on in here?
She came on to me.
No wonder her career's in trouble.
Seed of Chucky.
That's my boy.
Welcome back, guys, and happy Halloween. And of course, today's movie was going to be of The Seed of Chucky. Directed by Don Mancini, this is the 5th installment in the Child's Play franchise. And it has Chucky and Tiffany as they discovered that they have somehow conceived a child, and now they have to act as parents and still be those killers that we all know and love. And the reason why I'm jumping to this one specifically is for a few reasons. Reason one is because I haven't seen this movie in years. I think I want to say it's maybe around like 6, 7, maybe 8 years I haven't seen this movie for a long time. And reason two is I feel like it's kind of convenient because the Chucky series is going on. It's on its 3rd season on Sci-Fi. Not sponsored at all, but I'm just saying it is going on still, and it's somewhat consistently continuing with the story in some small way. It's at least convenient to at least bring up one of the Child's Play movies or one of the Chucky movies or one of the sequels at least. And I think, in all honesty, this one kind of is very fitting because Don Mancini really knew and understood the material here. I don't know if his first debut as director in this franchise was this film or if it was before with Bride of Chucky. I don't know. But either way, whether it was Bride of Chucky was when he first directed and started doing the Child's Play movies, or if this was when he started doing the Child's Play movies, it's very fitting because this was at least one of the first maybe directed movies he's done, and now he's continuing with the franchise with the TV show. Kind of almost comes full circle. He understood the material, making this very much the way we see Chucky and the way we see that franchise now, because that franchise, I remember the first 3 movies very much kind of like took itself serious and they kind of had a bit of camp to it. But I think after, like, as the years have gone by, they really became more self-referential and very more extra campy, and they understood what this franchise was, and it even made fun of that franchise, and it's become batshit crazy and bonkers. And in my opinion, I think this might have been the movie that kind of started and got the train off the rails with this franchise, with how crazy and the continuity and inconsistencies and all that stuff. And the third reason is because I will definitely say that it's been a while, and I remember when I was kind of doing a Child's Play marathon almost, because I remember in 2017 Netflix was doing The Cult of Chucky, and I was kind of doing a little bit backtracking, a little bit of a recap, watching almost all the Child's Play movies up until the latest one at that time. And I remember coming across this film and it being so wildly insane and off the rails for sure, 1000%. First act very much feels like what you're in for. Self-referential feel of the Child's Play franchise. They're poking fun of it, even having a Child's Play movie take place within the movie. Once you get to the aspect with Glenn and Glenda being 2 people, which we'll touch on that later on, that's when it just gets batshit crazy and it just gets off the rails. It gets bonkers. It gets insane for me, in my opinion. And I remember, like I said, I haven't seen this movie in years, but I think the memory has stayed with me because I remember just losing my mind of what I just witnessed within the last act. And I think at the time I respected that it went as far as it did, but I wasn't a fan of this movie. I think I kind of view it as a hilariosity, and I feel like now my perspective and my opinion has changed a little bit. I don't hate it as much, but I still think this is definitely a hilariosity where it's like, if it's so bad, it's good. It's so bad, it's hilarious. It's bonkers. It's just, this is the one, I think, like I said, this is where it started. This is where it kicked off. And Don Mancini, I think he just really nailed it for sure. I mean, the references that this movie makes with having a Britney Spears cameo, a Shining reference.
I can't think of a thing to say.
Even Chucky himself acknowledging that he's become a notorious slasher killer character amongst the ranks is it's just perfect. Looking back at this movie, it kind of makes sense that Don Mancini did this movie in 2004, and he's continued the franchise with the TV show, because there's definitely huge implications of sexuality in this movie. And I'm not saying that's bad, I just think that's kind of like not funny, but I just think that kind of like, I don't know, I'm not trying to assume on Don Mancini, but it feels like because he's a gay man and the storytelling that he's done and the narrative that he's done with the Chucky series and with this movie, it kind of feels like, okay, yep, this feels like a Don Mancini movie now that you watch it. You have literally a stalker of Jennifer Tilly who may or may not be in love with her. Jennifer Tilly plays herself and her being what feels like she's in love with herself. So I think that's kind of funny. And all jokes aside, it all makes sense too, because the house that we see in this movie, I think was the same house or same set or same aesthetic at least in the TV show with the blue walls, and I think there's that staircase. And of course, Jennifer Tilly now being in Tiffany's doll body and Tiffany being in Jennifer Tilly's body, and having, of course, Glenn and Glenda. Overall, I do give Mancini a lot of respect for the way he directs this movie and the way he did do this movie. And I gotta give this movie a lot more respect, actually, in all honesty, and not just because there's a lot of LGBTQ plus representation and narratives going on here, but also the fact that this movie came out in 2004, and them touching on this stuff during the early 2000s, I give them credit for. And not just that, but also the fact this is an hour and a half long. I'm very surprised to see, looking back on some other movies and older movies, how long they used to be, because nowadays you have so many movies that are trying to be 3 hours, almost 3 hours long, 3.5, almost 4 hours, 2.5 hour, 240, 250 movies, 3 hour movies, 3.5 hours, so on and so forth, films. And sometimes that's great, but there's something special and kind of like surprising to see like a movie that's an hour and a half, an hour and 12 minutes, an hour and 15, 2 and 15. You kind of appreciate the hour and a half, and you kind of appreciate the shorter runtime. I don't know, like it got to its point, and I think it came across its premise excellently within the runtime that it has. Everyone does their part fine. Everyone does their part great. Of course, Chucky being Chucky, and Brad Dourif, I feel like he can't do anything wrong. He could say the most dumbest shit in any movie with Chucky, or he can say the most dumbest line ever in a Child's Play related property, whether it's the TV show or even any of the movies. I think he'd still deliver it amazingly and notorious and infamous because of his iconic voice. Surprisingly, looking back on this, there is a really genuine tender moment of Glenn/Glenda trying to figure out what he or she is, what they really are, what they want to be, and trying to figure out that acceptance of who they want to be. And they do attempt that, and they do succeed that very well in the TV show of figuring out what they are and who they are. I think this is also great that I'm looking back on this, because you have those characters in that show, how they are represented, how they are as personalities, because in this movie, it addresses that Glenn is more of the soft, kind of more of the angel. He's the more innocent. They were like more to themselves, more closed, a little shy. And then you have Glenda, who they were seen as more of, they liked the idea of being a little bit of like having a little killing in their blood, and maybe that consequence and that kind of that bloodline running through your veins of if this is what you want, this is who you are, no matter what. And you may or may not be a killer through and through.
You are my kid, you are a killer, and you can't escape that!
And I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know what. Oh yeah, Redman. He was in this movie, and he's kind of forgettable a little bit. And I feel like Redman is not how he is in this film. Like, I feel like he's written how he's not in real life, which is kind of saying a lot about the writers. But I think it's funny because I feel like this is not how he would act in real life compared to his writing, if you catch my drift. But I don't know what it is. Something about this is kind of silly and kind of stupid, but yeah, at the same time, a little ridiculously funny. Is what is with like having rappers in movies? I mean, I get it. maybe they have some acting chops. I mean, have been athletes and rappers and artists that can act, but there's something about like the late 90s and early 2000s that you have to have a rapper in your horror movie. First it was Busta Rhymes and Halloween, now it's this movie, and honestly, I think Busta Rhymes was probably more memorable and more funnier as shit in that film compared to Redman. I think Redman kind of could be, you can easily insert a different person and it wouldn't change anything, if I'm being honest. You could insert Method Man and it wouldn't change anything. That's how like kind of forgettable the character is, or at least him playing himself is. Speaking of people playing themselves, little known fact I actually dug up while I was kind of putting in images and doing this review was that apparently Quentin Tarantino was going to play himself in this film. And you know what? It kind of makes a lot of sense with how bloody and gory this kind of gets, and not even just this movie, but this franchise alone gets like over the toply gory, and a lot of these slasher movies get over the toply gory, but something about Quentin Tarantino being in this film would have actually been more hysterical. But this is what I mean, is how bonkers, insane, and wild this movie is. Even though Tarantino declined and said no to this role and him playing himself in the film, it's just the idea of how far insane and how wild and how off the rails and how meta this movie really wanted to go. And it started with this movie, and I think it goes further beyond off the rails later on in the show and things like Cult of Chucky, specifically Cult of Chucky. But this is, I think, where it all started. And I don't know what to really give this movie. I just think, honestly, looking back on this movie, I think this is a blast. I think you guys can enjoy this movie if you want to. I think this is one of those types of movies that you can just have fun with it. You can have fun with your friends, maybe. You can just laugh at how ridiculous this is. It's so funny. It's good. It's so bad. It's good. It's so bad. It's hilarious. I don't really have a rate. So you know what? I'm not going to rate this movie this time. So I'll give it a pass. I think years ago I would have given it like a D, maybe almost an F. But I think I would gave it a D. But I don't know what to give it now. I think I will probably maybe bump it and change it, but I don't think it's D material. I think at least it's, you know what? It's so bad. It's so hilarious. It's so over top. It's so cheesy. I don't think it deserves its own rating. But what do you guys think of Seed of Chucky? Have you guys seen it? What did you think of it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on slasher movies, on this franchise, whatever it is? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please smash the like button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do awesome videos every day, if not every week. Make sure you ring that bell to new videos every week. Share the video with your favorites, all the good stuff and more. Leave some suggestions in the comment section. You name it, I'll look to do as best as possible. Hope you guys have a happy Halloween. Let me know what you guys are going to be doing on Halloween. Anything fun, anything cool. You guys go trick-or-treating, whatever it is. Whatever you guys do, parties, whatever shit. Let me know. Have a blast day. Let's all have some fun, but be careful as well. But anyways, guys, look out for November. It's going to be back to normal. We're going to bring things back a little bit. We're going to have Security Breach still. We're going to still have Dreamlight Valley. We're going to have Spider-Man come back, the stream series, and then also the other stuff will be returning. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.